Hi, everyone. I'm Oliver Engstrom, and today I'm here with my partners Mason Platt, Adam Savageau, Michael Avikian, and Tully Clark, uh, who have been working on two essential questions in regards to this Equity Summit. Um, we have forged one essential objective out of two questions, which is how can we ensure that every student has access to a world-class education and all of the resources offered by Edina in a way that acknowledges and addresses the inequities faced in our community. Now, we discussed uh, quite a few different topics, but landed on one in particular, being what happens after high school.
Hi, I'm Adam. Before we get any farther with our specific solution, I want to take a second to clarify inequity and inequality and how they each play a part in the problem at hand. First, inequity can be used to describe any situation in which there is an unfair difference. This is different from inequality, which simply states that the difference exists. Recognizing that these are indeed two distinct concepts, we believe that Edina has the resources to ensure income inequality, an inevitable situation, does not cause an inequitable environment for students, specifically when it comes to post-secondary education planning. Here we cite some of the statistics that inspired our project. These are all sourced from the Minnesota Student Survey in 2019, and the data shown is from juniors in high school, or what we believe to be the most relevant group to our project. The prompt we chose to analyze was, has an adult in your school helped you think about education options for after high school? And so, looking at the trends, overall, Edina posted above average results for the question, with 82% agreeing that they had received some form of post-secondary education help at school. This slightly topped the statewide average of 77%. Looking closely at demographic stratifications, the 82 number doesn't hold. In fact, for students identifying as low income or free and reduced lunch, only 68% could agree with the prompt. This fell short from the statewide levels by a significant 8% and an embarrassing 14% when compared to the numbers at Edina overall. So in conclusion, survey results indicate a very apparent failure of Edina to support low-income students at the same rate as other students on this topic. Again, this is one of the main reasons for choosing the topic that we did.
By sponsoring a private and local test preparation organization, Edina could provide an affordable means of preparation for standardized testing in a way that would benefit nearly all students. While lower-income students could receive aid to participate in the program, other students that wouldn't require aid could benefit from more efficient integration and greater accessibility to the program. We propose the sponsoring of a test prep organization such as Breakaway's model. The model could integrate peer-to-peer assistance as well as tutoring from professionals. Extending affordable test preparation to low-income students would work to diminish the disadvantages faced by students unable to afford these services individually.
So I just want to talk about a little bit of statistical analysis on how this would help. First of all, here's a graph from the ACT's website about how the average score for a family making more than $80,000 is in the upper 23 range and increasing every year, whereas the average score for a family making under $20,000 is in the 19 range and decreasing every year. This gap is widening, and it's about 4 points, which is huge when applying to colleges. This is furthered by this graph right here, which shows how in every subject, the more money you make, the higher your score is. Finally, this is another graph which illustrates how the higher income a family is, the higher their SAT score will be. Now, we are talking about ACT scores. However, the concept still applies. Now, this doesn't mean that people who make more money are technically smarter in any way. It just means they have more resources available. This also applies for racial inequality in Edina, as Black families, Hispanics, and American Indian families make under the 80,000 margin in Edina, implying that their children would be within the gap of the lower range of ACT, which is an inequality we will not stand for and needs to be overcome. So we want to talk about a little bit about SMART goals here. First of all, our goal is specific. It is implementing a free college test prep course which would allow lower income individuals to be as prepared for college as many of the higher income individuals in Edina. It would be taught by Breakaway, and the designation of fundings towards this program would be a definite indicator, so we would know how much. Next, it would be measurable, as we believe we would see a drastic increase in merit-based scholarships, as well as test scores across the board increasing, and higher college attendance among Edina students. Finally, we do believe this would be absolutely achievable. With more preparation, it has been clearly proven to correlate to higher test scores, which is shown by this graph right here, which shows every hour of preparation, the overall scores increase, regardless of if they prepared for the first test or if they prepared for the second test. The more preparation a student does, the more hours they put in, the more they gain. And we would like to give people the resources to put in those hours so that they can see that gain in their test scores.
We would like to talk with an official on budgeting and allocation of resources towards this program. Many other programs like this have been integrated across many schools in Minnesota. We would like to run this program a month prior to the junior ACT to make juniors feel more prepared and competent for their ACT. This program would be 4 weeks long and would be packed with information. We are doing this to prioritize equity and to close the achievement gap between the upper class and the lower class.
Is that good? Or did you mess it up?
To elaborate on the realistic component of the SMART goal that Tully mentioned in the last slide, I'd like to take a closer look at the financial implications of the program and what that would mean to the Edina School Board and financiers. First, we can propose some possible plans to consider, as we don't know how the board would like to allocate their funds across the participants. With $25,000, we estimate that we could completely subsidize a 4-week one-on-one test prep program for around 65 low-income students. That's just over the average amount of free and reduced lunch students in each grade at Edina. Another solution would be to distribute the income on a gradient, allowing perhaps an additional 60 students to receive partial aid to the program. These are just a couple of the different plans to allocate funding, but there is an allowance for huge versatility in the administration of such a program. Our suggestion would be to allocate around $35,000 to the program to be distributed on a gradient scale, but we recognize that this could be fully functional at a much lower number. As specified by Edina Public Schools budgeting information from past years, funding for this program could fall under the Purchase Services section of the Special Revenue Funds, an expenditure which totaled $2.6 million in the 2019-2020 budget. Again, this would be within the Food Services Program, or Free and Reduced Lunch Program benefits, and the 2.6 number is only given as a perspective for the reasonability of our ask. At the state level, funding would fall under Compensatory Education Revenue, labeled in Section 6F1, or page 29 of the Due North Education Plan. More specifically, while the MDE contrastingly focuses their compensatory efforts on racial identity, we believe that our program would benefit both groups disadvantaged economically and groups disadvantaged due to their racial identity. For reference, the slide, How Would This Help?, demonstrates the strong correlation between the two groups in our community. Lastly, I'd like to stress that all allocation proposals are based off a 100% attendance rate. So while the optimistic model rate may raise $35,000 in revenue, it would more likely manifest in a yearly expenditure closer to $20,000. Here's the compensatory education revenue findings from the state level on Minnesota's Due North Education Program. Yeah. And here's the Edina budget covering 2019 to 2020. And there is the 2.6 million number that I cited earlier.
Our suggestion not only creates less stress for families trying to feed themselves and have their children get into prestigious universities, but it also takes away the stress for the students through a school-offered attack plan on how to do well on these admissions tests. It means no more searching for the right book or online course when the school will provide an effective and discounted course led by Breakaway Test Prep Services. Additionally, if we can help more lower-income students get into the U of N or other local universities, it relieves some of the pressure of their families, of leaving their families to go out of state. Now, as far as the quantitative effects go, through the data we've provided, there will in fact be an increase in Edina's median ACT or SAT scores. And additionally, there will be higher acceptance rates into colleges for all students, and especially the lower income division. Now, due to COVID-19, many colleges are now allowing students to have the option of submitting their test scores. This ranges from local public universities to Ivy League schools. However, while we acknowledge this shift to be evident, with the current state of things, having a good test score is just as, if not more, important than ever, especially for lower income students. A solid test score will make you stand out from the crowd and thus provide scholarships. This is why we strongly urge Edina to take up this initiative, as it would clearly create a more equitable environment. I met with Ron Michalek from Breakaway Test Prep. We discussed the inequities around test prep services, and he told me how Breakaway has been working with other schools providing scholarships to lower income students. He works with a range of public and private schools like Jefferson and Bloomington, Blake, Breck, and several more. What he made clear to me was how flexible their company is with the schools they partner with. They have a staff of around 45 people ready to go, whether in a virtual or in-person setting. They are also flexible with the means of which they instruct at the schools. The basic program we discussed was a 4-week, 3-hour per week program that we would like to integrate at Edina. The cost of this program, as found on their website, and I confirmed with Ron, was $695 per student. However, as an incentive to do it through the convenience of the Edina campus and the inclusion of practice tests and other materials, Ron mentioned that he could most likely do a discounted $595 per student course. This is where Edina budgeting allocation comes in, as my partner Adam has already referred to. And at the end of the day, this is more business for Breakaway, and it will benefit both the test prep service and Edina School's reputation. However, most importantly, it will provide the opportunity for low-income or free reduced lunch students to have a much brighter future ahead. In order to gauge student feedback on our idea, we sent out a poll to the student body with questions relating to counselor meeting frequency, personal post-secondary planning, their study habits, how effective this would be and related to low-income inequities, and how successful our idea would be. And a few of the questions we noticed, our sample size was 77 students, and 78.7 of which said that post-secondary planning should be slightly or dramatically increased at Edina. In addition to that, 50% of respondents said that meeting with their counselor is a rare occurrence and only when required. And here is one of the responses we got. Does studying for standardized testing give you anxiety? And as you can see, it is a very stressful thing. And this is why we believe Edina partnering with Breakaway would create less stress and implement more equity.
We would like to talk with an official on budgeting and allocation of resources towards this program. Many other programs like this have been integrated across many schools in Minnesota. We would like to run this program a month prior to the junior ACT to make juniors feel more prepared and confident for their ACT. This program would be 4 weeks long and would be packed with information. We are doing this to prioritize equity and to close the achievement gap between the upper class and the lower class.
Is that good? Or did you mess it up?